Shield fusions in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are incredibly overpowered. There are so many things that you can use on your shield, from using it for transportation or using it as a weapon, or you can even fuse it to a two-handed weapon to parry with that two-handed weapon. So there's just so much that you can do, and I'm going to show you how you can do all of it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how you can use your shield as a mode of transportation, because in my opinion, this is the best way that you can use the shield in the game. You can fuse bomb flowers, time bombs, or even springs onto your shield and shield surf with those items, and it will boost you up in the air. Now I know you can do this with a rocket and it makes it a lot easier, but honestly, doing it this way is a little bit more fun. Now the reason why I like doing it this way is because it makes it a lot easier to go into bullet time to take down harder enemies like Lionels or Taluses or whatever. You can just shield surf, boost yourself up into the air, and hit them critically using, bows or whatever. Another really cool way to use your shield as a mode of transportation is by fusing on a Zonai cart or a mine cart, and this will allow it to act like a skateboard. Another cool thing is Link actually knows a couple of tricks. He can jump and he can do this little spin thing, and it calls for some really cool tricks, and you can even attack monsters if you're going downhill. And adding on to that, you can also fuse a sled to your shield and use it in snowy environments, or I believe in sand environments, and it'll allow you to coast down mountains and hills extremely fast. And you can also use the same tricks on the sled as you can on the quote-unquote skateboard, so it's pretty cool. I also want to mention the wing, because it does have a cool trick up its sleeve when you fuse it to your shield. When you go to shield surf with a wing on your shield, it allows you to jump high, like really high. So if you have like an obstacle in front of you and you just want to go ahead and jump over it quickly, I highly suggest that you use a wing on your shield. That way you can do so. Now let me show you how you can use your shield as a weapon, because there are a ton of different ways that you can do this. Now one of my favorite ways I like to use the shield as a weapon is by fusing on elemental items such as sapphires, topazes, or basically anything that has an elemental effect. You can fuse it on your shield to get that effect. However, there are a bunch of different ways that they work. Say for instance, the gems, like a ruby or a sapphire or a topaz, will allow you to block with that elemental damage. So if a mob attacks you, it will dish out that elemental damage. However, if you parry, it's not going to give out that elemental damage, like say for instance, a dragon part. So if you fuse one of Ferocious Scales or something along those lines to the shield and you parry, you can dish out elemental damage that way. Now speaking of dragon parts, when you fuse a shard of light to your shield and parry and actually hit an enemy with that shard of light, you will actually gain a quarter of a heart back to your health. So technically you can heal yourself throughout a battle using a shard of light. Now when it comes to fusing Zonai devices to your shield, it works kind of the way you would expect it to. When you fuse a cannon to your shield, you can shoot your enemies with a very powerful cannon, which causes for some really funny clips. However, it is really hard to control, so just keep that in mind. Now when it comes to the shock, frost, and flame emitters, as soon as you actually block with your shield, obviously it's going to turn that device on, and you'll be able to run up to enemies and either catch them on fire, or you can freeze them, or you can shock them with these devices, which is extremely handy. Honestly, the frost emitter is the funniest one, because you can just go around and just freeze everything and farm if you want to. You can also fuse on weapons and weapon parts onto your shield to make it basically a dual wielding weapon. So you can have a one-handed weapon in one hand, and then you can have your shield fused with another weapon on the other hand. And if you parry with your shield, you can do damage, which is really funny. So yeah, you can fuse basically anything to the shield, and they're gonna have a bunch of different effects. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can fuse your shield to a two-handed weapon to enable the ability to parry with that weapon, which is incredibly useful in a lot of situations. Just keep in mind that the shield is not gonna have a lot of damage output, so it's not going to do a lot of damage to the weapon. So pick your battles. It's pretty fun to, parry with a two-handed weapon. However, it is going to make that two-handed weapon a little weaker. Another unique way you can use your shield is by fusing on a Muddle Bud or a Puff Shroom to your shield to get a couple of different effects in battle. If you fuse a Muddle Bud to your shield and an enemy attacks you, it will cause that enemy to get confused and attack its friends, which causes for some pretty funny fights. And if you fuse a Puff Shroom to your shield, it'll act like a smoke screen, and any enemy caught in that smoke screen will completely lose sight of you and you can just walk away. And also, this isn't damage related, but it's cool, so I wanted to put it in the video. You can fuse a star fragment to your shield, and it'll act as kind of like a little nightlight for Link when you're roaming around in the depths. So if you want to, and if you have one and or if you have a few extra, go ahead and fuse one to your shield when you're exploring the depths, and it'll kind of create this little glow around Link. That way you're not running into a bunch of stuff. But there you guys have it. That's everything that you need to know about shield fusions in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more future videos. But guys, I'm peacing out for now. Have a great day, great night, wherever you are, and until next time, peace out.